Tonight's broadcast is made possible by Strack & Van Til, your favorite Indiana-made grocery store. Crowell Insurance Company, the insurance superheroes. Ironworkers Local 395, proud to be union. Four Seasons Mechanical, quality and comfort is our guarantee. Boilermakers Local 374, earn while you learn. IBEW Local 697, proud to support high school sports. Bricklayers Local 4, the best hands in the business. Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, keeping you cool in the summer and cozy in the winter. The Right Group, the right way to buy and sell real estate. Mark Macknick, Chicagoland Tax Professionals. Blythe's Team Sports, where the athlete shops. And Hampton Inn, downtown Indianapolis. This is the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Game Night in the Region on the Region Sports Network. We come to you tonight from Crown Point High School as the Region Sports Network presents live video coverage of Indiana High School boys basketball as the Penn Kingsmen take on the Crown Point Bulldogs. I'm Andrew Mild, and I'll have the play-by-play for tonight's action. And joining me with the color analysis is Doug Nelson. Good evening, Doug.
Good evening, Andrew. What a fun weekend if you're a sports fan, huh? But we got a early season matchup here of two teams, and it could be round one. You know, these two teams could see each other down the road and later in the year. But what a way to get going here for Crown Point at home.
Crown Point comes in ranked the number 2 team in the coaches poll, which is incredibly impressive. And this roster, from the first player to the 10th player, all of them can contribute in their own way.
Yeah, and they're balanced, as you said, and they can play many positions. They can guard many positions. And Coach Swan and his staff, they've been doing it a long time, and I'm sure they're getting ready to go.
And this team is led by the recent commit, Dikembe Shaw, who's committed to the University of Illinois Chicago. Doug, this player does a little bit of everything. He can score, he can pass, and he can play defense.
Yeah, again, as you mentioned, I think he can score at 3 levels as well. Yes. He can score in the perimeter, in the mid-range, and also finish in the paint. And as we mentioned earlier, he can guard all 3 spots as well. So he's going to need a supporting cast. You need more than one guy, but they're going to go as far as he goes.
Yeah, he talked about how Clint Swan here in Crown Point has done a phenomenal job. But on the other side is a guy that he's familiar with in Barrett Kuhlman, who's been the head coach of Valparaiso for a long time, now in his 3rd year with the Penn Kingsmen. His son, Caleb Kuhlman, is a sophomore, but last year he took the world by storm. He was recognized as a Sports Illustrated Freshman Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's got talent, and he's got size and length, and he's going to fill out. As we talked about, he's going to put some muscle on, and we're excited to see his future.
Yeah, last night, Penn played their first game of the year. They were at home against Fort Wayne Carroll, where they won 63-53. Caleb Kuhlman scored 34 points, hitting 6 threes. We will step aside and we'll come back as the national anthem is about to start. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Ava, let's go.
Try it on.
The shortest distance between 2 people is a smile. That's why we're committed to fighting hunger in our communities until everyone has a reason to smile. Strack & Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Company's Insurance Professionals, Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
IBEW Local 697 isn't just wiring buildings. We're woven into the very fabric of Northwest Indiana. We're your neighbors. Our kids go to school with yours. We stand in the same bleachers cheering for the same high school teams. When you hire a union electrician, you're not just getting the highest quality work, you're supporting our community. IBEW Local 697, proudly powering our own.
The Saturday night forecast is brought to you by our friends at Economy Electric Heating and Cooling. Tonight's forecast is a brisk one. 29 degrees, 4-mile-per-hour winds. Feels like 28. Expecting snow tonight. So in other words, Doug, the basketball weather has arrived, and I'm happy that we're indoors for this highly competitive matchup between Penn and Crown Point.
Yeah, I want to see you out shoveling in the morning, though, Andrew.
We just got done doing that last week. That's the Saturday night forecast brought to you by Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, keeping you cool in the summer and cozy in the winter. Andrew Myatt with Doug Nelson here on the Regent Sports Network. Just heard the starting lineup for the Penn Kingsmen. They'll go as this: Ben Murphy, Caleb Kuhlman, Lucas Obermeyer, Christian Bonner, and Mikael Price. And Doug, you and I were talking about it. Kuhlman had such a big game yesterday against Fort Wayne Carroll, but now you're going up against a Crown Point team that can play defense, and you have to think in the game plan for Coach Swan, it's forcing Penn to beat them with someone else that's not named Caleb Kuhlman.
Yeah, I think, interesting to see how it gets started being game one for Crown Point, and Penn's got a game under their belt. But, we're going to see if they're going to run and, run the floor, or they're going to make it more of a half-court game and more physical type ball game.
Good crowd on here tonight. Some fans still piling in with all the star power for both sides. Players already getting D1 looks, and they're about to go through the starting lineup of the Crown Point Bulldogs. Be sure to stay connected with all things Regent Sports by supporting and following us on social media. We're always active on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and online at regentsports.com. Celebrating over 25 years, we're proud to still be the only game in town. Kingston Rhodes, and Mason Darrell have been announced. Same for Bryce Peters. Cooper Mulaski will get the start, and then rounding it out is the star of this Crown Point program, Dikembe Shaw. Doug, how is Crown Point going to open up the season with a win here tonight?
Well, I think Mason Darrell, he's fun to watch. We've been following him for a few years, and he's really an emotional player. He'll get the crowd going, and it's been fun to see him develop as a player. And as far as players, you need guard play, and he's a guard that can handle the ball and score from the perimeter. So it's going to be a fun one here tonight.
Darrell committed to go play at Bellarmine. And he was also the player that stepped up big for Crown Point when they won their regional title back in 2024, their first regional title in 26 years. So what did they do? They won again last year, both times being stopped by the number one team in the state, Fishers. Opening jump.
Our officials on tonight, real quick, Raleigh Phil, Jeff Rohde, and Jeff Nix. Good crew here tonight.
Price wins the tip for Penn, and this ball is handled by Kuhlman. Crown Point will get that possession arrow later. Good defense by Crown Point, closing out on Obermeyer. And Obermeyer feeding it down low to Bonner. Bonner against Shaw, and he finishes around the D1 commit.
Yeah, he went right through Shaw's chest. I saw Bonner. He's a big, strong kid. We'll see how Shaw can match up with him tonight.
A four-sport athlete, Christian Bonner, well known for his football play. Three is missed by Mason Darrell. It was a hit off the play clock above the basket for an out of bounds, and Crown Point going to implement a press to speed up this Penn offense.
Yeah, both teams starting out man-to-man.
Bonner, who scored the first points of the game, inbounded it to Murphy. Murphy had 7 points, described as a 3-and-D guy, plays good defense and can shoot. He penetrates the lane, stops. They feed Bonner again, and I believe a travel was called on Bonner.
They called him a double dribble.
Double dribble.
When you catch the ball coming, you want to try to catch it with two hands. He tried to catch it off the dribble, and then you can't dribble again, so that's why he tried to catch it with two hands.
So turnover on Penn. Crown Point, one shot on their last possession, and that was it as it went out of bounds.
Yeah, you can see Crown Point's got a little confusion as far as first game jitters / nerves.
Darrell, three-point ball, and he misses off to the right. Darrell starts 0 for 2 from downtown.
Yeah, Crown Point looks a little unorganized right now.
Kuhlman pushed it to Obermeyer. Kuhlman in the corner. They're going to feed the post again. Bonner, left hand, he finishes.
Finished with his right and left hand, but Andrew, it's one of those things that starts with his feet. He has got really good balance and feet and a wide base.
So Bonner, 4 points. His Penn leads 4-0.
A lot of standing around on the Crown Point offense. I'm not used to seeing that.
And no one really moving. This offense feels out of sorts in this first game. Of course, both teams played some scrimmages, but these games are now going to count.
Walked.
And travel. Pin that one on Bryce Peters, who transferred from Maryville. Spent 2 years with them. This is his second year with Crown Point.
Yeah, Crown Point's extending their defense a little bit, maybe speed up Penn, or, sometimes if you're struggling offensively, you try to get some extra possessions with the full court pressure. It's not really doesn't look like it's made for steals. You just kind of slow things down a little bit.
Really impressed with how Penn has settled in, not afraid of this Crown Point team. The number 2 team in the state, they're going into the post with no problem. Murphy, spin move, and he gets his shot rejected. And a save. Penn gets the layup as Bonner makes a play, getting the assist, finding Price. It's a 6-0 run to start off this game for the Kingsmen.
Nice little hustle play.
Rhodes. Shaw's been awfully quiet to start off this game. He didn't get in double team immediately. Peters fed in the post. He's going baseline. Into the corner. Darrell shooting a 3. He would have made it, but they're going to call Peters for carrying the ball.
Yeah, nice. It was, again, I don't know if they can figure out, or if they're having trouble figuring out what defense Penn's in or what, but they look very confused right now.
And that's the thing, too. If you're going to play the number 2 team at their home court, hostile environment, you got to land the first blow and take the fans out of it immediately, and that's what Penn has been able to do thus far. Kuhlman catch and shoot, and he puts it in. It's a 9-0 Penn run to start off this game, and Coach Swan will take a full timeout. We'll take a 30-second break. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Four Seasons Mechanical proudly serves Northwest Indiana, providing quality, reasonably priced, reliable service. With a quality and comfort guarantee, the professionals at Four Seasons Mechanical offer a wide range of services in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Whether it's residential or commercial, Four Seasons Mechanical is there 24/7. To find out more, the website is fourseasonsmechanical.com or give them a call at 219-756-7020. Four Seasons Mechanical, your indoor air quality specialist.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Welcome back to the Region Sports Network. Doug Nelson over to my right. I'm Andrew Mild. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday night. Penn starting off on a 9-0 run. Crown Point just looks sloppy offensively.
Looks like maybe Penn's in a little matchup zone or so.
Shaw.
But the weak side is no movement whatsoever, Andrew.
Shaw trying to work around Obermeyer, and Obermeyer is getting some help. In the corner, Peters, 3 ball. Got it! Crown Point comes out of the timeout, and that was a much-needed bucket to end the 9-0 Kingsman run.
Yeah, they've been turning it over so much, and first one of the rare shot attempts they've had.
Peters, who averaged over 8 points last year, led the team in assists, nearly had 4. Bonner, who has 4 points, looks like a bull in a china shop. He was out of control. It's a charge as Cooper Mulaski takes the hit to the chest.
Yeah, he put his head down. He was going either way. He might not have even seen Mulaski there.
Bonner is 6'1", but he is a stocky 6'1".
He's solid.
I'm not sure what position he plays for the football team, but I've had to put money on it. Most likely D-line. Darrell getting the screen. Darrell, Shaw. Shaw thought about it. Peters, they're swinging around the perimeter. Rhodes penetrating. 3 from Mulaski. And Mulaski with a great defensive play. He hits the 3, and Crown Point has trimmed the Penn lead down to 3.
This net's been a problem a couple times already. They're going to have to change those nets.
Second time a Crown Point player made a 3, and the net got stuck on the rim. 6-0 Crown Point run after the timeout, as Swan has ignited his team. Swan entering his 20th year as head coach of the Crown Point Bulldogs. Kuhlman getting rejected by Mulaski. Mulaski's a one-man wrecking crew. He takes a charge. He hits a 3, and he just rejected Caleb Kuhlman about 5 feet from the basket.
Yeah, Kuhlman had that ball really far away from his body. You want to keep it close to your body and make the defense go through the body to get the ball.
Mulaski, a 6'7" junior, described as a fundamentally sound player that can score from all levels and play some good defense, and we're seeing that right now. Bonner in the corner being harassed by Shaw. Shaw in his grill, and the student section right next to him loves it, as Kuhlman now has the ball. Kuhlman for 3. That was heavily contested. It was short. Bonner diving for the ball. It's him and Mulaski in that pile of humanity, and the possession arrow belongs to the Bulldogs.
Nice little 6-0 run for the Bulldogs here to get back into it. Little crowd want something to cheer about, you know. They're getting a little loud.
And that last through is set up on some excellent passing, as they got the baseline, swung it around the perimeter, and Mulaski on that far wing couldn't be more open.
Yeah, good ball movement.
Now, 3.5 minutes ago in the first quarter, Darrell loses the ball as it's stolen away.
He just took it from him there.
And that was Obermeyer. Transition 3 off the front rim, as Price couldn't make Crown Point pay for the turnover. 3-on-2. Oh. Peters whipping it. Rhodes 3 for the tie. And Crown Point has matched the Penn 9-0 run with one of their own. And the players for Penn pop off the bench immediately.
Yeah, they're going to, they answered our question. They're going to play full court. They're going to get up and down and run.
Michael Burton and Cody Evans. Burton, a freshman, his brother plays at the University of Notre Dame, not too far away from the campus of Penn High School.
He looks like a freshman, doesn't he? He's small. He looks like a young Curry out there.
He had 4 assists in his first high school game in the win yesterday against Carroll. Kuhlman with his right hand goes to Burton. Burton swinging around. 3. It's short, as that was an air ball from Cody Evans. Crown Point recovers rebound on the ground. Peters pushing it down the floor. Peters at the rim, and he can't convert it. Couldn't have asked for a better look, and Darrell tried to jump the pass, and he bumped Ben Murphy. That will lead to a foul.
Yeah, Darrell was just a little late. Kind of came with hands first, the kind of dead giveaway. He's got, as we mentioned, he's a very emotional player, and he can get in there and calm down a little bit.
So Darrell will sit after picking up that early foul, as MJ Wilson has checked in for Crown Point. 9-9. Crown Point currently possessing a 9-0 run. Reed Kagi has also come in for CP, as Cooper Mulaski will take a breather after he had some phenomenal minutes after the timeout. Kuhlman going to stop and pop, and he drains a 3.
That again. You know, Coach Swan's a crafty guy. He might have done that to help set things up, but I doubt it. I would imagine next week there'll be some new nets in here.
Coming a officials timeout after every made 3, and we've seen a good amount of them in this first quarter. About 2 minutes to go. Rhodes penetrating, contested at the rim, and Kagi couldn't pull down the rebound. Penn pushing it down the floor. Pull up from the lane. Burton's shot is off the back rim. Ball rolling away. There's effort by Wilson. He finally gathers it off the hardwood. Shaw against Burton. That's a bit of a mismatch, and Burton looked like he might have hooked Shaw's arm, and Burton, the freshman, will get a foul called on him.
Yeah, that was a lot of body. And
yeah, Burton 5'8" from the Penn roster. Shaw is 6'7". So that's 11-inch difference between the two.
And probably about 50 pounds.
Yes. Shaw committed to UIC back in August. He was thrilled because no longer coaches were going to be calling him. Wilson got just outside the block, and someone got him on the arm. That will send him to the line. And it's on Burton again, so 2 fouls on Burton.
Two quick calls there in a matter of about 30 seconds.
Interested to see if Coach Kuhlman will take out his freshman guard. Doesn't appear so, as Burton and Kuhlman are both talking to the referees, but now Kuhlman will go to the bench and bring out the senior Caleb Martinez. And Caden Rhodes, Kingston Rhodes' twin brother in the game, both of them just got offers from Manchester University. 1 for 2 at the line is MJ Wilson. Penn has a 2-point lead.
You're also sorry, but you see Crown Point going to their bench pretty quick. They're going about 9 deep right now.
Yeah, we saw some early scoring. It's really started to slow down as this first quarter is coming to an end. Kuhlman hit a 3 to give the Penn Kingsmen their lead after Crown Point tied it at 9 apiece. Kuhlman called for a screen. He penetrated, went to the corner, and Shaw got in the passing lane and knocked it away before he could reach Caleb Martinez.
Yeah, you can't. It's tough to deal with Shaw's length.
Yes.
He's put on a lot of muscle, and I'm glad to see that. That's going to help him at UIC next year.
Following the footsteps of another Crown Point great in Jessica Carruthers, who's now there. That's a turnover on Penn.
Yeah, they're being really physical with Kuhlman off those screens. He's run along. He's kind of old school guard coming off a bunch of screens like that to get open, but Crown Point might have been grabbing and holding a little bit.
And Murphy whipped the pass, and Kuhlman couldn't bring it down. Kuhlman, the coach, has been upset with a couple of calls he's seen now. Rhodes dribbling to his right, going over to Jack Lux. He's entered the game. Rhodes going around the defenders and finishing with the left hand as he goes down to the ground and then runs into a Penn player when he was getting up. I got to say, Doug, this game is starting to turn a little physical here in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was a nice, quick first step there. From the Crown Point guard. Now he did a good job of finishing.
And Caden Rhodes, listed at 5'9", went around a tall defender, floated it, and got it to kiss off the glass and tie it up at a dozen apiece. And this could be the final possession of the first quarter. Kuhlman by the timeline. Letting this play develop. Evans, left hand, and Evans got hit on the arm.
Yeah, it was pretty easy smack. It looks like they're not helping off of Kuhlman. It looks like they're in total denial. When he gives it up, it's almost like a man-to-man boxing one type idea.
And you and I were talking about that. You looked at Kuhlman's numbers. You know how incredible he is, especially when he can catch and shoot.
Yeah.
Crown Point is forcing Penn to beat them with someone else.
Well, a good scorer finds a way to score.
That's true.
But they're going to make him earn it and be very physical with him off of the ball.
The old saying is you can only hope to contain them.
Right.
Kuhlman facing Bryce Peters, one of the best defenders in the area.
And he doesn't need much time to get it off either.
No.
He's very quick release.
5 seconds. He gets a screen from Bonner. He's going to pull up, and it's too long, and that's the final shot of the first quarter. What a thrilling start to a game that we know is going to have an incredible 3 more quarters. We'll take a break as you're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I've received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the business.
Calling all current and future homeowners in the Northwest Indiana area. Whether you're buying or selling, Brent Wright is here to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. With years of experience, personalized service, and a deep knowledge of the market, Brent will help you find the perfect place or get the best deal for your property. Call today at 219-406-7195 and take the first step toward your real estate goals. Contact Brent Wright, the right way to buy and sell real estate.
Mayor Pete Land and the Crown Point Pace Department are proud to support Crown Point Bulldog Athletics and say go Bulldogs. Crown Point remains dedicated to preserving history, celebrating everyday life, providing the best in city services, and encouraging smart growth. Visit the lower level of the historic Lake County Courthouse for photos with Santa from noon to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays beginning November 29th. Santa will also be there on December 23rd. Please bring a camera. Photos are free. Andrew Mile and Doug Nelson on the Region Sports Network. 12-12 first quarter. Doug, what was your early thoughts in this game?
Yeah, just Crown Point working out some kinks there and, working out that half-court offense. A lot of their stuff came in transition, as you mentioned, but it's also going to be interesting to see how they decide to guard Kuhlman.
Bonner lost the ball, and Obermeyer was able to recover it, and a foul will go on a Crown Point player laying out for that loose ball, and it's on Mason Darrell. That's Darrell's second, and as they said, it was number 10. You saw M.J. Wilson, the sophomore, head to the scorer's table as Coach Swan is going to lose his starter for possibly the rest of this second quarter, and Darrell's going to head to the training room that's behind this basket.
Yeah, he might be going in there just to cool off a little bit, but Doc Merrill, one of the best, goes to check on the...
Kuhlman, step back, triple, and it's short. Soaring for the offensive rebound is Price, and Price puts it in. Cleaning up the mess after the missed three from Caleb Kuhlman, giving Penn the lead.
Kuhlman's got some Kalen Clark range, doesn't he?
He's not afraid to pull the trigger from anywhere and has the green light. Lost ball from Bryce Peters, turnover for CP. And Penn got off to a 9-0 run. Crown Point has been able to tie the game, but yet have to lead against the Kingsmen. Kuhlman got a screen. He has an option to go to Price. Price got an offensive rebound and gave Penn the lead. Kuhlman made a three in that first quarter. Going to his left, being guarded tightly by Wilson. Now going back to his right, and they're going to get Kuhlman on a carry. So Crown Point turns it over on their end, and now Kuhlman trying to do too much.
Yeah. Dikembe Shaw's yet to score, Andrew.
No.
So we'll see if they can get him going a little bit.
Crown Point's first three scorers all hit threes. Shaw being guarded tightly by Kuhlman. Molaski by the Crown Point logo. Now it's to Shaw. See if they can get Shaw going here as Shaw pushes off, steps back, and his three is too long. Rebound pulled down by Caleb Martinez. Obermeyer feeds it down low to Price, and they'll call a foul on Molaski reaching over Price.
Yeah, there's some undisciplined defense right now
yes.
from Crown Point. I've been with a lot of reaching, a lot of from behind, kind of a half step slow, and that starts, Andrew. You got to play defense early.
Yes.
You can't be standing around and then play defense when my guy has the ball. You got to play your defense early and get in the stance and get ready. A lot of guys standing around.
About 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. Kuhlman mid-range jumper, and he got clocked by M.J. Wilson. That will send Kuhlman to the line, and Kuhlman has that shooter's touch. So him getting to the free throw line, they view that as a major win.
And that's a nice high release for Kuhlman, too. He can shoot over guys, but the contested shot, and that's one of those cardinal sins. You never foul a jump shooter.
Kuhlman already gaining a lot of interest as a freshman, getting looks from the big schools here in Indiana, IU, Purdue, Notre Dame, right down the road from Penn High School, and even PFW. But the more he fills out, gets bigger and puts up some bigger numbers, got to think that he's going to see more offers come across his way.
He's got nice range, and he's got that shooter's mentality, too. You can tell, like you said, he's got the green light.
And he's a coach's kid.
Yeah, he's got keys to the gym, you know. He's wearing out the gun.
Whether it be at Valpo, where his dad coached for a long time, Shaw with an aggressive take, and Shaw still not able to crack the scoreboard. Burton found Murphy on the back cut, but Murphy had to slow down after he didn't initially bring down the ball. They go back out to Burton, who's in the corner by the timeline. Burton against Rhodes. Murphy going his left, being bumped out by Kagi. Burton back to Murphy. Ball being lost momentarily by Price. Price able to regain it. Crown Point trying to deny Penn here. Playing very physical as Burton makes a move, and Burton throws it off the bottom of the backboard. Shaw gets a rebound, trying to go coast to coast as Shaw is getting bumped as he lost the ball, and they're going to get a foul on one of the Penn Kingsmen, and they're going to send Shaw to the line for 2.
He had a kick out there in the corner. I think he's kind of forcing things right now. He's trying to force the action rather than letting the game come to him, and maybe getting to the line and seeing the ball go in the basket will help his psyche a little bit.
The foul is pinned on Lucas Obermeyer. Yeah, but for Shaw, he announced his commitment to UIC on August 15th, so in the back half of summer. And a major reason for that is that he wanted to go into senior year focused on playing Crown Point basketball.
Well, he had plenty of options, didn't he?
Oh, yes. Because Crown Point, their goal ultimately is to win state. Start off as the number 2 team in the coaches poll. Now you have an X on your back. You've won 2 regional titles back-to-back years, only losing the Fishers, and Fishers won the state title the first time they beat Crown Point, and they lost by 1 point in overtime last year.
Again, that was a defensive foul from behind, and it's just positioning. If you allow your defense or the offensive team to get where they want to be, and then you have to work around that, do it the other way around and beat them down the floor and beat them to the spot. Work early.
That's the 4th foul on Crown Point in this second quarter.
Yeah, in 3 minutes.
2-point lead for Penn. Obermeyer in the post. Had to kick it back to the perimeter where Burton is finding somewhere to go. Go back to Burton, who's in the same spot. They get down low, and
it happened again, Andrew. The defense from behind, and you're just in a bad spot. You got to show your hands, move your feet, play defense with your chest.
Now we'll put Bonner at the line because that's the 5th foul in Crown Point in the second quarter. It puts Penn in the bonus. Caleb Kuhlman, who sat out for one offensive possession, is heading to the scorer's table. And Crown Point will match with their own starter in Cooper Molaski as Kagi, a junior, had a couple of those fouls. Bonner got off to a good start as he's getting some offers to go play college football once he's all said and done at Penn. And, of course, Penn football beat Crown Point football in the sectional title this year. Good pass down low as Molaski takes it to the rim and finishes around Price.
He's had a good start to the ball game here, Andrew.
He had a 3 that tied it. He took a charge, and he rejected a shot from Caleb Kuhlman. It's a 1-point game. Burton to his right. Burton losing his footing, and Crown Point will pick up the ball and push it as Jack Lux has it. Corner, Rhodes, 3. Crown Point leads for the first time.
Yeah, he might have got away with a little carry double dribble there.
Yeah, a lot of these Penn fans here on this side were asking for it, and it was certainly close. Crown Point leads for the first time, and Shaw trips Kuhlman.
Yeah, reaching again. You got to play defense with your feet. Like as I mentioned, you got to be in the stance off of the ball. I'm sure that's something at the next level that they'll be working on, but he's been standing up quite a bit.
And Crown Point has been able to take advantage of the Penn mistakes, especially on turnovers. Crown Point's been able to score a lot of points off Penn turnovers, but when it's the set offenses, in my opinion, Doug, I think Penn has looked better.
Yes. And that could be because they have a game under their belt.
That's
but as
true.
you mentioned, as much as teams play and scrimmage anymore, it shouldn't be, especially with an experienced team, that the Bulldogs bring back.
Shaw, catch and shoot, and there's the Kembe Shaw with a long three.
Three-pointer's the great equalizer.
And for a 6'7" player that can also finish at the rim, if he can stretch the floor, makes them even more dangerous. Crown Point up 4. Bonner pushing Shaw and finishing with his left hand.
Bonner's just having his way in the paint. He's just a stronger guy right now.
Bonner's had himself a good game. Scored a good amount of points, already up to 7 on the night for Penn. Rhodes hit a big three for Crown Point, give them their first lead. Shaw, he hit a three. Shaw bouncing off 2 defenders, no call anywhere as Shaw misses. Price pulls down the board, and they get past the half-court line.
Yeah, he was very out of control there.
He was. He bounced off of Kuhlman and Bonner. Shaw trying to get it away from Bonner. Bonner lost it. It rolls out, and Crown Point gets a Penn turnover. It looks like what Penn is trying to do, Doug, is establish down low.
Yeah.
So it forces Crown Point to collapse. They can get it back out to some of their lethal shooters.
Right.
One of them being Caleb Kuhlman, and timeout called. It's a full timeout. We'll take a 30-second break. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
At Blyce, we're used to having the athlete shop at our store.
Down, sit, put.
But sometimes they get carried away. Blyce, this is where the athlete shops.
Located in the heart of downtown Indianapolis, the newly renovated Hampton Inn is within walking distance to over 30 restaurants and attractions, including Lucas Oil Field and Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Hampton Inn has much to offer, including a hot breakfast, high-speed internet access in every room, as well as a fitness center. Why wait? Make your reservations today. Call 317-261-1200 or make them on the web at hamptonin3.hilton.com. Hampton Inn, Indianapolis, downtown.
You're watching Region Sports Network coverage of high school boys basketball on youtube.com/Region Sports, facebook.com/Region Sports Nation, and regionsports.com. Andrew Mild and Doug Nelson. Crown Point leads by 2 under 3 minutes to go. Wide open is Peters. The triple is pure.
That was just a blown coverage there.
Bryce Peters hitting another three. And Crown Point has a 5-point lead.
He could not be more open on that one.
Murphy crossover. Murphy up to the cup, and he gets it the kiss off the glass. Good crossover going around Lux, finishing over Mulaski. 3-point game. Peters to Lux. Lux, Shaw stepping in. Shaw being tripped as he hits the ground hard.
Is that on Burton? Yeah, it is. That's number 3.
So Michael Burton, the freshman point guard, who has an offer to Murray State already, has committed 3 fouls, and he came off the bench. And the last thing you want to do, too, Doug, is that you saw Shaw and how he's really pressing and struggling to score. His confidence was a little down. The last thing you want to do is send a player like Shaw to the line and see that basketball go through the cup a few times.
Yeah, that's just going to help his confidence. And yeah, as you mentioned, with his size and length, he's a matchup problem here at the high school level.
Well, he goes 1 for 2 at the line, a 4-point game. Kuhlman, Murphy, triple. It's nothing but nylon. And another net timeout, which I feel like that's the 5th one we've seen in this first half alone.
That's a good job of penetrating kick there. That's a good weapon to have if you're that Penn backcourt.
Murphy has a good release, a good shot. His coach praised him on that. And that one, he did not hesitate, pulled the trigger, and it was a pure shot.
5'9" senior.
Peters catching. He's going to settle for a 3 off to the left. And now Penn trying to get into a fast break, and Murphy saw that he had a man open in Obermeyer streaking down the side court, but he threw it into the student section instead.
It's really hard when that first outlet pass is in the middle.
Yes.
You want to try to outlet wide and get better angles, and that was just a tough pass for Murphy there.
1 point game, high intensity in this first half, as we thought it would be. Shaw spinning. Shaw, fadeaway jumper, short, and Peters had a rebound, and luckily for Crown Point, it deflected off of Evans, out of bounds, and Crown Point will set up underneath the basket. Minute 16. Inbound it to Mulaski. Peters against Price. Crossover. Finds Rhodes. Rhodes dribbling it back out. Crown Point will set up for a new play.
A lot of standing around again, though.
Rhodes finds a spot as he cuts through the defense, and his shot rolls out. Under a minute. Kuhlman to the rim, and he hit it off the left iron. Crown Point tried to save it as it goes out, and Penn will get a second chance. Kuhlman with 9 points in this first half. Currently the leading scorer for the Kingsmen. And for Crown Point, it's death by 1,000 cuts. A lot of different players finding the scoreboard. Murphy, he had a three. Rhodes right on him. Murphy into the corner. Three ball coming up. And the corner three won't go down. Offensive rebound, and that one missed. Crown Point pushing. Peters to the lane. No. Wilson went for the putback, and he gets fouled as his shot goes wide. But MJ Wilson with the hustle play leads to a couple of free throws.
Love guys hitting the glass. Andrew, you watch a lot of basketball at the next level. It's about that second and third opportunity.
Yes.
And it's an absolute war under there for those second and third opportunities.
I really feel like that's just good old-fashioned Midwest basketball.
It's just hustle and desire. Who wants the ball more?
And Crown Point, they have to be getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. When you start off as a number 2 team, every team that's on your schedule wants to beat you bad, and they come with their best, and we're seeing that from Penn.
And as you know, the Duneland Conference is going to be very competitive
Yes.
again this year. And
which it always is.
Yeah, and that just does nothing but get you ready for the postseason.
Well, we saw Chesterton last night got a big win with 4 players scoring in double digits. And then Valparaiso beat East Chicago. Kuhlman back cut. Kuhlman left hand gets it to go down. What body control by the sophomore.
Nice back cut, beautiful bounce pass.
10 seconds. Crown Point holding on for the final shot as they lead by 1. Rhodes directing traffic. Rhodes attacking. Rhodes push shot, and the bunny won't go. And Kaigi couldn't finish it. And that's how the first half will end. What a thrilling first half we just saw. Crown Point and Penn exchanging blows. CP will lead by 1 going into the halftime locker room. We'll step aside and we'll come back. Well, me and Doug will talk about the first half and get you for a thrilling second half. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
It's time for the Commissioner's Corner, an exclusive weekly conversation about Indiana high school sports with the Commissioner of the IHSAA, Paul Neidig. Now for an up-to-the-minute report about what's happening in the constantly changing world of high school sports, here's Commissioner Paul Neidig.
It is our weekly conversation with the Commissioner. Welcome into the Commissioner's Corner. I'm Brendan King, joined by the Commissioner of the IHSAA. It's Paul Neidig. Paul, congrats to you and your team on wrapping up another great IHSAA football state finals. And I guess this is officially the transition, right? As we get into December, football wraps up, basketball officially in full motion. How'd everything go last weekend at Lucas Oil Stadium?
Well, first of all, it's a phenomenal weekend. We had great attendance, and the games I thought weren't decided. Sometimes you get there and based upon records and other things, people are saying this team's going to win, this team's going to win. These games were highly competitive, even though the score may not have ended up there at the end. But we had a 14-14 game at halftime in the 1A game, and and these kids really were prepared well. They played well, and their coaches did a great job with them. And so it was a great fan tournament.
What can you say about the partnership with the Colts? And, of course, the Colts then played the Texans on Sunday, and that's so special in our state that literally, professional football players are using this turf the day after, 2 days after high school players get to. The partnership with the Colts another year down, right?
Yeah, that's right. The coaches are phenomenal. They do such a great job, and they grow football in Indiana. Like the Pacers Sports Entertainment helped us grow basketball, and they grow football, and they do a great job. And it's across the board. The work that they've done with not only the high school scene and honoring coaches and teams is great, but the work they've done to develop girls flag football in the state is phenomenal also. And so that only grows football across the board, and then again the coaches are just phenomenal people that understand high school sports.
So a big shout out to all the Mental Attitude Award winners. 1A was Micah Rands, 3A was Brady Trebley, 5A was Abe Walling. Then the 2A game on Saturday morning, it was Micah Sheffer, Colin Ash from Roncalli in Class 4A. I thought it was super special, though, Paul, in Class 6A to wrap up the weekend. Cash Ballard from Westfield, who is one of the sons of Indianapolis Colts general manager Chris Ballard. I know Chris every year records a video for you guys as the teams are taking the field. So that's a special moment for every kid and parent when they're watching their son, their child, play at Lucas Oil Stadium. But how about to get Chris involved and have his son Cash win the Mental Attitude Award? Of course, that speaks to what he does at Westfield. But just for you guys at the IHSA to have that photo taken, Chris Ballard on the field with his family in the 6A game, how cool was that?
Well, it was real cool. And anytime a student athlete wins the Mental Attitude Award, it's something they put on their resume for the rest of their life. But, I saw Cash come through, and I saw his application. And first of all, a great football player. His command of the game and as the center on the offensive line there was great. But, he handled himself with such class all the way through. His interview post-award was phenomenal also. And then, and that's for all families. It's just another opportunity to be proud of this child that they've raised. And, it was obvious that Cash has got a phenomenal upbringing and great parents, and that showed Saturday, and that's the reason why he was the Mental Attitude Award winner.
Paul Nottig, the commissioner of the IHSAA, with us on the Commissioner's Corner. So, Paul, full swing, girls basketball and boys basketball. I know last weekend, with the snow coming into town, it was greeted by a lot of postponements, I think 48 total basketball postponements on Friday night. So what's the process for you guys of helping get all those rescheduled on schools' dockets? And, again, 48 postponements, that's a big number.
Well, our schools do a phenomenal job. It's something that our athletic directors, I think, across the board are some of the best in the country, and they do a great job of managing those types of situations. And it's not just one phone call and say, we're going to play this game on this date. You have to work out the date, then you got to make sure you can hire officials, you got to let your fans know, you got to reschedule transportation. There's just a whole host of things that go with those reschedules, and our schools and our athletic directors do just a phenomenal job with that. And certainly it's not something that we want to do, but we're certainly prepared when it's time to make a reschedule.
Paul Nottig, the commissioner of the IHSAA. Paul, always a pleasure. Great job last weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
We'll talk to you soon, Brendan, and thank you for what you do to promote education-based athletics in this great state.
Thanks for listening to the Commissioner's Corner with IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig, and thank you for your continued support of the high schools in your community.
Is made possible by Strack & Van Til, your favorite Indiana-made grocery store. Crowell Insurance Company, the insurance superheroes. Ironworkers Local 395, proud to be union. Four Seasons Mechanical, quality and comfort is our guarantee. Boilermakers Local 374, earn while you learn. IBEW Local 697, proud to support high school sports. Bricklayers Local 4, the best hands in the business. Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, keeping you cool in the summer and cozy in the winter. The Right Group, the right way to buy and sell real estate. Mark Macknick, Chicagoland Tax Professionals. Blythe's Team Sports, where the athlete shops. And Hampton Inn, downtown Indianapolis. This is the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Mayor Pete Land and the Crown Point Pace Department are proud to support Crown Point Bulldog Athletics and say Go Bulldogs. Crown Point remains dedicated to preserving history, celebrating everyday life, providing the best in city services, and encouraging smart growth. Visit the lower level of the historic Lake County Courthouse for photos with Santa from noon to 4 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays beginning November 29th. Santa will also be there on December 23rd. Please bring a camera. Photos are free. Andrew Mild and Doug Nelson on the Region Sports Network. We're at halftime, about 3.5 minutes to go. Crown Point leading by just 1 point, 28-27. And Doug, really the story of the first half, I would say, for the Crown Point Bulldogs is you and I came in talking about how they have 2 D1 commits in Dikembe Shaw and Mason Darrell. And I would say that both of them really felt like a non-factor in the first half.
Yeah, it seemed to me Shaw was forcing a little bit, as we mentioned, and Darrell never got in the flow, getting in early foul trouble. So, and that might have led to the Crown Point offense looking a little stagnant. It looked a little one-on-one, you know what I mean? And when they moved without the basketball, then good things happened. So I'm sure that's what Coach Swan and their staff are talking about in their locker room.
And that, and also the fact that Crown Point committed so many fouls, especially in that second quarter. And you said it really came down to them getting into bad positioning.
Yeah, I think it's where you start. You got to play defense early. Meet your guy coming down the floor, be physical. Don't let them get to their spot, and that would help. Being in the right position and get rid of some of those fouls.
Looking up at the scoreboard, they're revealing to us that Caleb Kuhlman finished with 11 points. He had 34 points yesterday in their win, but Doug, I was really impressed from what I saw with Caleb Kuhlman. But then you saw how the first half ended. Penn celebrated that first half as a win because they're only down 1 point in the second half to the number 2 team in the state.
Yeah, they're pretty fired up. They came in fired up, and as you mentioned, Crown Point's going to have that every night.
Yes.
Crown Point's going to get everybody's best game.
Exactly.
That's the target on them right now, and they've earned that. And that's a fun thing to have, and but you just have to be ready to go every night.
So Kuhlman, he was impressive. Christian Bonner, a football player, also showing his strength, and Crown Point has really struggled to guard him because he's left-handed. So you see a few times he catches it on this left block, and Crown Point looks a bit confused trying to slow him down.
What I also like, he plays low to the ground. He plays with a low center of gravity, and those guys I love those multi-sport athletes that you can tell he spent some time in the weight room, and it shows. He's on the paint on both ends right now.
So going into this second half, Doug, what does Crown Point need to do for them to open up the season with a win, and what does Penn need to do to finish up the upset and end this weekend 2-0?
I think Crown Point, if you're a Crown Point fan, you want to see them, continue to get up and down the floor. They're scoring a lot in transition, but their half-court offense has got to be more fluid. And again, if you're Penn, do what they're doing right now, and until Crown Point can stop it, and they're getting getting those paint touches and scoring from the inside and outside. So just do what you're doing, and hopefully it goes well.
Don't forget, at the conclusion of tonight's game, we'll name the Crown Companies Lantern Man Superhero of the game. Crown Companies, the insurance professionals. We have the Boilermakers Local 374 Blue Collar Player of the Game, brought to you by Boilermakers Local 374. Learn about apprenticeship programs and more at local374.org. And the Proud to Be Union Play of the Game, presented by Ironworkers Local 395. Go to ironworkers395.com to start your future as a union iron worker. As the buzzer sounds, we get set for the second half of action. It's a moment for you to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook, follow the page, share it, let people know that Crown Point and Penn playing in a big game, expecting a lot more basketball coverage in both the boys and girls divisions in this 2025-2026 season.
A lot of competitive basketball up here in the region, Andrew. It's going to be fun, a fun winter.
Some big stars. You really feel like the talent up here in Northwest Indiana has continuously got better, and we were even graced tonight with former Crown Point great and current Purdue assistant coach Sasha Stevanovic was in the crowd. And unfortunately, a couple of the Indiana-based schools lost today. Purdue lost at home to Iowa State. IU, they got beat. And then Butler lost to Boise State at home.
Yeah, Louisville looks good, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I was watching some of that game. They look good. Indiana made it interesting at the end a little bit, but
IU in their new era, of course, got off to a good start. They got ranked, and they've lost 2 in a row. Shaw curling around, Mulaski whips it to Rhodes. Rhodes goes around the defender. He elevates, and his shot soars over the rim.
The defender did a great job of staying vertical there.
Murphy telegraphed the pass, and Shaw was able to steal it away, and then he's hit from behind from Bonner running down the floor. Bonner will pick up a early foul, his second. Crown Point wouldn't mind seeing Bonner getting into foul trouble here in the third quarter.
Yeah, I think that was just wrong place at the wrong time. But Murphy expected one of the posts to be on the ball side block, and neither one of them got there.
1 point game. Lasky, Shaw, sort of a similar play we just saw. Rhodes on the near wing, gets the screen, going to his right, going up against Bonner. Bonner, although he's big, he's also agile. Really good feet.
Yeah. Crown Point's running a little 5-out stuff, and I really like it. It starts with that high post look.
Rhodes, straightaway three, and he can't get the friendly roll. Darrell saving the ball as Evans in the post can't make it. A good contest and a good recovery by Obermeyer.
Yeah, a couple of the Penn fans were unhappy that Crown Point was coming over the back a little bit and pushing from behind.
Kuhlman gets a man in the air, takes a mid-range jumper, and Penn takes the lead.
He looks like a shooter, doesn't he? Looks like a J.J. Redick.
Oh, yeah, same number, too.
Yeah, it's hard to find a guard like that comes off the screen as much as he does, and he can score off the dribble as well.
Redick, the current head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Murphy laying out for it, and he was out of bounds before he could throw it off the leg of Rhodes.
Great hustle there by Murphy.
Redick was a star at Duke University, bounced around the NBA, was really known for his years as the shooter for that Lob City team out in Los Angeles. And Kuhlman getting high praise from Doug Nelson here on the Region Sports Network.
You don't see too many shooters like that
free ball,
anymore.
and Darrell buries it.
That's big for him. Like I said, he got a slow start in the first half.
We even saw him take off to the training room that's behind that far basket just to blow off some steam. He is the emotional leader of this Crown Point team, and he is on the board. Crown Point goes ahead by 2 after the clutch 3. Bonner fed in the post, and Bonner did walk.
Yeah. And
they've really liked that matchup on that left block. Get it to Bonner, go up against Shaw. Shaw is big and strong, but Bonner is stronger.
But as low as being left-handed, you want to post up higher, so when you drop step to your left, you're not behind the backboard. And I think that's what happened there.
Murphy reaching, Rhodes dropped off to Mulaski. Shaw on the wing, and Shaw walked.
He kind of scooted that foot. I saw it when he pivoted and turned. He kind of scooted his pivot foot, and
he was looking to find the streaking Cooper Mulaski.
Yeah, it was a nice little pick and roll look from the wing because the help side defense chasing Mason Darrell on this side.
2-point game. Bit sloppy third quarter to start it off. A couple of turnovers by both teams. Murphy, a lot of dribbling. As Rhodes not making it easy for him. Bonner catching the ball by the 3-point line. And now Obermeyer going around. Here's a bunny, and he rolls it down. Tie game at 31.
Yeah, again, two balanced teams that have multiple guys that can score.
Shaw head of steam, and Shaw misses the shot. He hits the floor, and Crown Point with some good awareness to slow down the Penn attack to allow Shaw to recover. Kuhlman taking it himself, and Peters denies him.
Yeah, they had a 5-on-4 with Shaw coming down the court late.
Wide open down low is Rhodes. And a good find by Peters, who led the Crown Point team in assists last season. Crown Point edging ahead again. And now Penn leaves it, and Shaw says, "How do you like me now?" He gets the rejection. And then Rhodes gets fouled by Murphy.
Yeah, he kind of did that reach around from behind little flick that they do. But, yeah, great job of Murphy, by Shaw by getting a piece of that shot.
Shaw rejects Bonner. Bonner got a man in the air, and it's a timeout by Kuhlman and the Penn Kingsmen, but it's just a 30-second timeout. We'll stay right here. And, Doug, I don't know about you, but the pace has really picked up here in this third quarter.
Yeah, Crown Point's opening up a little bit and getting more up and down the floor and being more active, getting the ball in the paint, getting those paint touches too.
Well, let me ask you your opinion on this. If this turns into a track meet, which it looks like we're starting to go there, is that the advantage of Crown Point or for Penn?
I think it's pretty even.
Yeah.
I really do, because both teams have multiple guys that can score. So we'll see how it goes. But you got to finish in the paint, and Shaw's doing a better job of guarding Bonner in the paint. So, we'll see how that plays out here for 4 quarters.
Back from the quick 30-second timeout by Kuhlman and the Kingsmen. Trying to pull off an incredible early season upset on the road in CP. And not the only game going on between Crown Point and Penn. The girls' teams are playing tonight, but this time in Penn. Shaw, an aggressive take. Shaw throws it off the glass, and he'll pick up 2. Crown Point building on their lead. It's now a 4-point advantage. Shaw starting to get going a little bit. Rhodes harassing Murphy. Murphy recovers it, but they're going to call 10 seconds on Murphy and the Kingsmen. No one came to help him, Doug.
Yeah, it was one-on-one. Kingston Rhodes did a really good job of defending the basketball there and keeping him in front of him and got a piece of the ball. I thought he got away with a little takedown. I know Crown Point's a wrestling school as well, but
look over to your left by the scoreboard, the 2023 Wrestling State Champions.
Yeah.
Crown Point, one of the better wrestling schools in the state. Peters into the wing. Wilson, 3-ball. Wilson can't get the friendly roll. Rebounds. Mulaski rips it away from Murphy. Mulaski in the post, and it's stolen away from Bonner. Kuhlman one-on-one against Peters. He'll take it. As he gets the bump, misses the shot, he'll go to the line, but every Penn fan and player is asking for a goaltend. I don't think Shaw ever touched the ball.
No, he did not touch it, but again, that was a great job of Kuhlman of going through contact there. Again, as he develops and gets older, that's going to be a big part of it. I was hoping he wouldn't kind of hit and fade away, kind of AAU style, but he went through him, and that was a good move.
Kuhlman gets a friendly roll. And I bet coaches and college programs have to be salivating at the idea of getting a coach's kid like Kuhlman. And we're even seeing it. If you told me this kid was a sophomore with the high basketball IQ we've seen, I would have never believed you.
Yeah, he's not playing like a sophomore, and again, he's only going to fill out.
He goes 2 for 2 at the line, cuts the Crown Point lead in half. It's now 35-33. Shaw behind the back, and they're double teaming him, and he has a mismatch against Murphy. Shoots over Price, and it finally trickles down.
Nice soft touch in the rim, and he was very patient with his penetration there.
Crown Point double teaming Kuhlman. We've seen Mason Darrell, who has 2 fouls. He was over there, but he was not being aggressive as he normally is. Crown Point got a hand on the ball. Bonner able to pull it down, and Bonner, man, that was awkward as he was running down the floor. He gets fouled, and he's coming up a little limpy.
Yeah, Shaw's got to step. Instead of reaching over, he needs to step over and maybe take a charge there.
Well, we saw Mulaski for Crown Point do that earlier when Bonner had a head of steam. And
taking a charge from Christian Bonner is a career move. You got to decide, is this going to be worth it? Because he's a big boy. He's solid.
The college coaches would certainly enjoy it. Crown Point up 4. Bonner makes the first free throw. He went to the line earlier, and he went 2 for 2. Got a bit of a shooter's touch.
He does.
Not bad for someone his size.
Nice lefty touch there.
Usually when you see a player like that, you just tell him to go stand on the block and grab rebounds. But Bonner, he puts his work in at the free throw line. That time it rolls out. Offensive rebound. As Obermeyer keeps his possession alive. And then Murphy loses control. 3-on-1. Shaw got it to Peters. And then Peters lost it as it was deflected away by Kuhlman.
I think they're getting ready for a highlight there. And
yes.
I think Peters just needs to go finish that himself.
In one of those situations when you're Coach Swan, you say you have 3-on-1, you have to come up with something.
Yeah, and at least they have the ball.
They were able to keep the ball. Darrell, catch and shoot from the corner, and it was halfway down before it spit itself back out. But Mulaski gets the offensive rebound, and I believe they just called a flop on Darrell.
It's a warning.
So they called it a warning on Mason Darrell. The bucket will still count for Crown Point. And, Doug, if Darrell was called for a second one, that's a technical, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll make sure we had that rule squared away. A rule that was started off at the college level, worked its way down to high school ball. Tough shot, not going down for Burton. Crown Point out in transition again. Darrell got to Peters, and Peters' right foot hit the out-of-bounds line. Crown Point turnover. Under 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. And Penn staying in it, Doug. If Penn can go on a sustained run here, they could end the third quarter with a lead.
Well, I think if Crown Point continues to play this pace, I think they're going to pull away from Penn. I think they have more horses, more talent that can finish around the rim at this pace.
Murphy checks in. This Crown Point team is also much older than this Penn team. The Penn team has a lot of juniors, sophomores playing, even a freshman, just a couple of seniors on their roster. Crown Point a bit older with a lot of experience and a lot of winning. Kuhlman catch and shoot after the screen, and he can't convert the look. And Crown Point running on the open floor again. Rhodes, Peters, Darrell, corner three. Darrell, nothing but net. And Mason Darrell is pumped up.
And that's the pace that we're talking about. Is I don't know if Penn can continue that kind of pace for 4 quarters.
Darrow had 2 fouls and sat out most of the first half. It's hit 2 enormous threes. Crown Point with an 8-point lead. And with that full timeout, we will step aside. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
When it comes to your money, you deserve more than just numbers on a page. You deserve someone who sees the full picture. Meet Mark Machnick, one of Northwest Indiana's most trusted accounting professionals. Whether you're running a business, planning for retirement, or just trying to make sense of tax season, Mark Machnick, located in Highland, makes it simple, personal, and believe it or not, painless. Contact Mark and his team today at 219-595-5290. Mark Machnick, CPA.
Pete & Sons Auto Repair has been servicing in and around the Crown Point community for over 40 years. A full-service preventative maintenance and automotive repair center, Pete & Sons performs high-quality, guaranteed service you can trust. All done at a fair price. Located at 1001 Breckman Drive in Crown Point, Pete & Sons is open Monday through Friday. Give them a call at 219-663-1484 or check them out on the web at PeteandSonsAuto.com. Pete & Sons Auto Repair. Let our family keep your family rolling.
You're watching Region Sports Network coverage of high school boys basketball on youtube.com/Region Sports, facebook.com/Region Sports Nation, and regionsports.com. Andrew Mild and Doug Nelson. Crown Point has built their largest lead of the game. They lead by 8 as Mason Darrell has erupted in this second half, splashing down 2 threes and a turnover by Penn. As Michael Burton, he has had a game to forget. Fouls and that turnover there.
Well, that's what comes with youth. You're going to get inconsistent. He's going to have flashes where he's really good, and he's going to be, because he's learning along the way here, you know.
This Penn team certainly building for the future. In a few years, they might be contending for a top 3 spot in the coaches poll in the preseason. Darrell, can he make it 3? He can't get the roll. Wilson pulled down the rebound. Darrell, second chance effort. No. Another battle for the board. Rhodes comes up with it, and Rhodes converts it. It's a double-digit lead for Crown Point.
Love those second and third opportunities. Crown Point's in a little half-court trap now, Andrew.
Slowing down Penn. Burton, swing pass. The wing, Kuhlman has been quiet in this second half.
It's very risky to run this kind of offense with the type of shooters.
Settling for a 3, and Burton comes alive.
That's what I'm saying. With the type of shooters that Penn has, that kind of, because the zone is shifting, and you better be moving while the ball's in the air. That's what's going to happen.
Burton needed that. As we just said, it's been a rough game for him against the number 2 team in the state. He just hit a big 3 to cut it to single digits. Mlaski rolling down low, the bump in the bucket.
That's a. I thought the foul was on the cut, but they gave him the continuation.
A perfect pick and roll results in a bucket for Cooper Mlaski, and he'll go to the line for one more. Made a 3 earlier. Now he's going for the old-fashioned 3-point play. And if he can make this free throw, it'll put him in double digits. Put him alongside Kingston Rhodes. And he does it.
Yeah. Another thing with having such an experienced group. Nice reach in there from Darrell again. But Shaw's not even on the court. Here he's coming back on. But experienced group at halftime, there's no panic.
No.
You know what I mean? It was a little rough, a little rocky that first 16 minutes. But
And at this point, these guys have been playing together for so long.
Right.
You have to feel that they can coach themselves.
That's
they
what I'm
control
saying.
their own locker room.
Yeah.
We even saw Coach Swan do an interview with Crown Town Media, the broadcasting network here at CP.
Yeah.
Proud alum, I would have to admit.
We talk about it with our teams a lot. Player-led teams are the best.
Yes.
Period. There's no way about it.
10-point lead for Crown Point, 47-37. Burton, a lot of dribbling.
That's a block.
And Evans was going to his left, and Shaw hit the ground. And for Shaw, that's his third foul. Now he's getting into foul trouble alongside Mason Darrell, who just picked up his third foul a few seconds ago. So the two stars for Crown Point will head off to the bench, and Coach Swan really going to ask a lot out of his bench in this first game of the season.
Yeah, he did play a lot of people that first half, as we mentioned, but you would love that. Those are guys that are both possible Indiana All-Stars.
Both are D1 commits. Not a whole lot of schools can even get one. Murphy getting rejected as Wilson soars.
Wilson, great help side defense coming from the weak side.
My goodness, it's Rhodes going down the lane. Kingston Rhodes with 12 points on the night.
Yeah, Penn's got to stop the basketball at some point. You can't allow the point guard just to go right down the court.
The momentum is wearing red and white here in the third quarter. Peters able to lock down Kuhlman in this third quarter. Kuhlman with the left hand, a lot of dribbling by Penn. Backdoor cut. Murphy lost his footing. Crown Point recovers it. They can heave one here to end this third quarter. Rhodes three, and not even close. But Crown Point with a remarkable third quarter is the outscore Penn 21-10. We'll go to the fourth quarter, and you're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Beat the heat this summer with a newly installed AC unit from AirTech Comfort Systems in Crown Point. AirTech Comfort Systems has been providing prompt, honest service in Northwest Indiana since 1994. Whether it's a faulty AC unit or to install a brand new heating system, AirTech Comfort Systems can tackle it. AirTech Comfort Systems comes with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. You can call the experts at AirTech Comfort Systems at 219-663-9778. And you could always visit them on the web at airtechcs.com.
Hanger Insurance Group in Crown Point is passionate about providing a premier service insurance agency featuring customized coverage and meaningful relationships. They understand that you've built a life and they want to help you protect it. From home to life insurance, they offer a wide variety of coverage to fit your needs. From choosing a plan to filing claims, Hanger Insurance Group agents are ready to help. Stop in for a quote at 950 South Court Street in Crown Point or visit them online at hangerinsurancegroup.com. Protect what you love.
Back here on the Region Sports Network, Andrew Mild with Doug Nelson. And what a third quarter it was for the home team, the Crown Point Bulldogs, as they tightened up on both defense and it led to easy transition buckets. They have a 12-point lead entering the final quarter.
Yeah, they looked much more fluid and maybe more fluid full court, right? It was more up and down. I think that's a little more their pace.
The story for tonight for Crown Point has been the star play of their senior guard, Kingston Rhodes, up to 12 points, really having to step up for CP as Shaw and Mason Darrow both got into foul trouble and closed out the third quarter on the bench. Kuhlman, the star scorer for Penn, was held to just 4 points in the third quarter. He's still up to 15, still contributing as he got a handoff, spin around, fade away, and no roll, but cleaned up by Price.
And you mentioned his name during the break, and he needs to start having some kind of impact on this game.
And you and I were talking about it. Penn just not going down to the post as nearly as often as they were in the first half. Rhodes, kick and shoot, and traveling is Bryce Peters.
Yeah, if you're a Crown or a Penn fan, you need stops and scores, right? And that's a good start for them, but Crown Point's picking up their full court press again. A little 2-2-1 action, or is that man-to-man? Looks like a run and jump man-to-man.
That's what it's looking like to me, too. As Peters knocked the ball away from Kuhlman, and Darrell, 4 fouls on the night as he pushes over Bonner.
I'm telling you, and this is the coach in me, a lot of these fouls are coming because guys are standing straight up and down.
Yes.
I know I already mentioned it. They're being more reactive and less proactive, and they're reacting to the offense rather than pushing them where you want them to go.
Certainly for Crown Point, trying to go back to the state finals. They'll be watching this game on Monday, evaluating it, breaking it down, and talking about what you've been talking about tonight.
Yeah, the guys who get down in the stands, they're not in foul trouble. I bet you that.
Peters, one of those. Peters only has one foul, and look how cleanly he plays. And, of course, the broadcaster jinx, you mentioned it, and he picks up his second foul.
That's kind of, I don't know, that's if you're a Penn fan, you want that call, but if you're a Crown Point fan, you're like, let it play. What's he doing? What do you want him to do? And because he was showing us there was no reaching in.
No.
That's a bang-bang play.
7 minutes to go. Penn started this game on a 9-0 run. They need a similar run to get back in it, down 10. Obermeyer against Wilson. Price started off this fourth quarter with a bucket, and Rhodes with a foul.
A lot of hands there. But what they're doing is, and you mentioned it too, is the Crown Point defense is making Penn work farther away from the basket on the perimeter with really good ball pressure as long as they can do it without fouling.
That is the third foul in this one Penn offensive possession. One on Darrell, another one on Peters, and Wilson picking up a foul. Kuhlman into the corner. Obermeyer, triple, rolls out. Shaw soaring above everyone to get that rebound one-handed.
Yeah, he snatched that pretty strong.
Shaw thought about taking a three, and he found Rhodes wide open in the block.
Yeah, there's so many guys you have to pay attention to if you're the Penn defense, and you leave a guy for 1 second, and it's over.
Kingston Rhodes has now poured in 14 points in this opening matchup for the Bulldogs. Shaw with the excellent find, finding his point guard. Obermeyer, corner, Price, triple, short. And Shaw pulling down another rebound. Shaw going to run the point into the corner. Wilson, three, line drive, rolls off. Foul for the board. Shaw getting over there, but Bonner is the one that gets it, and then Bonner lost his footing as two players hit the ground. That was Wilson over there. Crown Point has numbers, 5-on-4. Wilson spinning, another Penn guy falling down to the ground, and Wilson gets the bucket.
Yeah, I thought there was a little bit of contact on the lower body on this end when Burton went to drive. But, this up and down, you could tell Penn wants nothing to do with that.
You had players falling over here. You had players falling over there. It's starting to look like the Royal Rumble, if you will, Doug. But 30-second timeout called by the Penn Kingsmen. And, Doug, I got to say for Penn, I was really impressed with how they started. And I think the experience between the two teams really started to show its head. But for Penn, this is a learning experience. This is why you play your Crown Point Bulldogs early on in the year, just to see where you're at before you even get into the conference play.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron, and they play in a pretty solid basketball conference. And Coach Kuhlman knows that. And, I'm sure that's why they got with Coach Swan and said, hey, let's get on the schedule because, you could get some cupcakes, and make your schedule or your record look good, but this is going to pay off down the road. And as I mentioned, these two teams could see each other again in March.
Penn playing in the Northern Indiana Conference. They finished second last year. Considering how young they are, that was incredibly impressive. They only had the one loss. So Penn be at the top of that list in that preseason poll to walk away with the conference championship. Murphy was cutting down the lane, picked up his dribble. Obermeyer, he stops his dribble. Bonner against Shaw. He's not in an area he wants to be as he goes around Shaw and just loses it, as they're going to say Mulaski knocked it out of his hands.
Yeah, Crown Point's playing well on the offensive end, but I think that this spurt that they've had the second half starts down here on the defensive end. They've really picked up their ball pressure a lot.
And they're denying Penn getting into that deep post. Kuhlman catch and shoot, and Kuhlman's three won't go down as Penn tried to save it, and Mulaski had his foot out of bounds when he touched the basketball. And Price, who laid out for that ball, seeing his efforts pay dividends for the Kingsmen.
Yeah, Mulaski right now, I think he's in the running for our blue-collar guy. He's going to be mine because he's always around the ball, and he's making things happen.
And he was the one that really ignited that 9-0 counter run by Crown Point after they saw Penn go on a run. Rhodes being called for pushing Murphy out of bounds. as he took that charge from Bonner, and sometimes all it takes is a good defensive play to ignite the offense.
Well, you've seen enough basketball, a good charge take, as that can lift your spirits. I'm sure the bench enjoyed that.
It's something about watching a player put his body on the line for his teammates to get them going.
Right.
And then he hit a three right after that. Kuhlman losing the ball, and it rolls in front of the Penn bench.
Yeah, just a little bit of ball pressure. And again, it's kind of unsettling Penn a little bit on this end.
And I will say, you talk about Molaski being a blue-collar player of the game. I counter you with Bryce Peters.
Yeah.
Because of him, he's been able to slow down Caleb Kuhlman, and that's not an easy task. Again, this is a guy that was a freshman last year, first-team All-NIC, which people are wondering if that's the first time that's ever happened in NIC history. The reason why they don't know is because in the 50-year history it never happened, and they haven't been tracking that since the 1970s. 4.5 minutes to go. Crown Point sitting on the ball as they lead by 14.
The 1970s like the ice ages to you young bucks, isn't it? I won't tell you that I was born in the 1970s, but we'll leave that alone.
Shaw smacked on the arm by Ben Murphy. But I know that a lot of Penn fans are excited to see this team play, and you can see why. The NIC is going to have a really hard time containing this young, fiery group that's really hungry to bring a conference championship to Mishawaka. Kuhlman in a double team turnover, and it's stolen back by Murphy. Bonner going to the cup, and he'll get an easy two. Crown Point saw a highlight play, and Penn got their own.
Yeah. Now Penn's going a little half-court trap here.
Crown Point able to break it pretty easily.
Someone's got to get at the free throw line. Somebody's got to be in the middle here. There he goes. He's going to stay right there.
You have Peters flashing to the free throw line. Shaw.
And the thing with Shaw is you can just throw right over the top of a trap, you know.
Yeah, he's not worried at all.
No.
He looks very nonchalant when they bring that double team on him. Peters down low. Peters can't finish the look. And Molaski gets the ball, and his floater had too much mustard on it. Penn pushing it. Kuhlman. Transition pull up three. No roll. Body hitting the ground. That's Bonner. And Penn gets the offensive rebound as Obermeyer falls over in the corner. Bonner open down low. They didn't find him in time. Obermeyer, corner three off the back iron. And this time it's Darrell getting the defensive board. And he's pushing down. Rhodes is hitting the ground. And
he's got a cramp.
Yeah, it looks like a cramp.
Hopefully it's a little bit of a cramp.
Yeah, he immediately sat down. And now he's back up on his feet. And Crown Point, I don't think it's going to have a choice. They're going to have to take him out, right?
Yeah, either that or I think they might be able to call a timeout. But if you're Coach Swan, you don't want a timeout right now. Things are going your way.
And Swan has been able to save those timeouts for most of the game. He used that one timeout early and maybe used one since then.
Yeah. Penn's playing with a little bit of urgency, you know, picking up the pressure here, but that might feed right into what Crown Point wants. Little half-court trap again, look.
And Peters got it to Shaw. Corner three on its way. And too long. And going over the back
He's on his
is
back.
Molaski.
I'll take those hustle fouls. That's a hustle foul.
And that could be the fifth foul on Crown Point. It's hard to tell. It certainly is. Both teams walk over to this side and shooting some free throws. It'll be Ben Murphy. Murphy with 5 points on the night. And 7 points yesterday, so he can match the total if he can get these two free throws to go down.
Yeah, you got to play with discipline, defensive discipline we call it. You know, you got to lay off the back, jump straight up, get the ball. But again, I'm okay with those hustle fouls.
Well, looking up at that scoreboard, Crown Point has had a lot of players, as players would say, have been able to eat tonight.
Yeah.
Get their own, get some buckets.
A lot of balance.
But they look balanced a lot from what we saw in Chesterton's upset win yesterday. So Crown Point has a lot of different options as Shaw works around the defender. Darrell catches it on a back screen, and they call him for a travel.
Yeah, he was trying to gather his feet and attack, and you got to catch that wide in that trap situation. Catch it wide, then attack. He was trying to do too much at once.
Crown Point fans not all that happy with the call. The Boo Birds here in the Crown Point gym in this early December game. 2.5 minutes left in this contest. Crown Point up by 10. Penn has a chance to cut it to single digits again. Rhodes rips it away from Murphy. Murphy able to regain it. Price down low, gets a gather stop, up and under, and a nice finish by Price. 8-point game. Penn not entirely out of it yet.
Nice little reverse move there. Penn continues this half-court trap.
Good move by Darrell to skip it across to Rhodes, who was wide open. Crown Point just trying to sit on the ball here. Darrell back to Rhodes. Rhodes by the Crown Point logo. Shaw.
I think if you're Crown Point, you still want to continue to attack. There's points to be had here. But they're playing total keep away. It's
they're playing four corners offense. And Penn has no choice but to start fouling. And that was their third foul. They have 2 more to give until Crown Point gets into the bonus.
Yeah. But again, I know Coach Swan's got about twice as many wins as I do, but he's been doing it a long time. But it seems like it's pretty early to start pulling the ball out.
Swan over 400 wins in his illustrious high school coaching career. 20th year with Crown Point. He was also at Andrean for a while. And a foul once again on Cody Evans. That's the 4th. 1 more to give, and Crown Point will go to the line for free throws.
This is my beginning of the year rant about the getting rid of the 1-and-1. I wish this still was the 1-and-1 and not this 2-shot thing. I like the idea that you had to earn that second shot, with making the first one. It added to the strategy of this kind of situation.
It's also my time of year to rant. I wish IHSAA would implement a shot clock.
There you go.
Shaw lost the ball. Penn rushing down the floor. Catch and shoot. Obermeyer buries it. 5-point game with 1:25. And that goes back to your point, Doug. Crown Point, instead of being aggressive and going after Penn, they kept away, took their foot off the gas. Penn gets a steal, goes down the floor, hits a 3. It's a 2-possession game all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a lot about coach's philosophy, but I've learned and I've changed, and it's you kind of compare it to a sprint or a marathon. I want to sprint through the finish. I don't want to be going slow motion. So, and then now it's hard to turn it back on.
Yes.
You've been stalling for about 45 seconds. Now it's hard to be aggressive again. Hey, go score. They're giving up looks and scores opportunities, and again, this is why you play the game, especially in early December.
We saw Mason Darrell here in this short corner, open for a 3, and he has a green light.
Right.
One of the best shooting touches you're going to find in the region, and he passed it up to swing it back out to Kingston Rhodes on the other wing.
Yeah, and they had a Bulldog open at the free throw line with the ball also where he could have attacked. So I think that you got to continue to finish, and, again, without a shot clock, that's an option, but I think you have to continue to score. Keep the pressure on Penn.
You've seen so many other states implement the shot clock. I'm not sure why this state hasn't, but we have 1:25 left in the 5-point game. That's a conversation for another time. Thanks again for joining us here on the Region Sports Network. Don't forget, after the game, we'll have a post-game show, hand out some awards, recap tonight's action between Crown Point and Penn, and then send you on your way. Hopefully you're staying warm wherever you are at.
They're kind of playing behind the guard. They kind of let him get it in. I wonder if there was I thought there might be a trap coming, but
Rhodes facing Burton, gets around Burton, past the timeline. 1:16. Let's see if Crown Point is aggressive again. That was a risky pass. Kuhlman couldn't get to it as Peter received it.
Yeah,
Darrell, way beyond the three-point line. He gets hit on the arm by Murphy, and that will send Crown Point's best shooter, Mason Darrell, to the charity stripe.
Yeah, they went back to half-court man-to-man. Do that, and if you're going to do that, you got to get up and deny one pass away. You can't make it so easy.
I guess one more, and then Crown Point will go into the bonus. With Darrell catching the ball again, they don't want to foul him, and now they will.
Yeah.
As Kuhlman runs into Darrell.
I like Darrell as the kind of guy that wants to be the guy in the free throw line.
And you could tell because he was not moving that ball. He had no intention of moving it.
Yeah, he was not going to pass the basketball. And I like those guys.
So now he'll go to the line for two. And a roll, and that shooter's touch pays off for the senior Mason Darrell. I don't have the number in front of me, but I have to imagine that his free throw percentage has to be one of the best, not just on the Crown Point roster, but in the region, possibly in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, and with his game, he's going to shoot a lot of them.
He knocks down both. First one, there was a little bit of drama to it. The second one was a pure swish. And Crown Point, now they're pressing. They're putting their foot on the gas pedal again. Good screen by Obermeyer to get Burton open. Burton thought about taking a three, kept that pivot foot down. Obermeyer, catch and shoot, high arcing shot off the back rim. Rhodes jumping up, getting the board. Rhodes now running into a double team. Kuhlman guarding him, and there was a couple of fouls I thought could have been called. None of them were, and they'll get it on Burton. Burton will get his fourth foul, and Rhodes has a chance to ice this game right here.
Yeah, Coach Kuhlman saying if we wanted to foul, we would have fouled them all the way back here, and the same contact happened back here that they eventually called the foul on.
Rhodes misses the front end of his pair. There's been a few times where Kuhlman and the Penn players and fans not happy with the call.
That's part of the game. These guys are good officials.
1-1 for two is Kingston Rhodes. Kingston Rhodes with 15 points on the night. Kuhlman being held scoreless in this fourth quarter. Entered with 15, still sitting at 15. Kuhlman mid-range jumper line drive, and it trickles down.
He hit that with a hand in his face with Shaw was right in his face.
Darrell was letting that clock run out before he picked up the ball. Darrell taking it as he tried to feed Molaski. Darrell raced after it, got the ball, and
he called timeout.
Timeout called by Coach Swan. And Swan with hands in pockets, not very happy, as his team is certainly making him sweat it out here in the final few seconds. Crown Point is up 6 on Penn, 18 seconds left. It's a two-possession game, but Penn has had to start intentionally fouling and sending Crown Point to the line.
Right. I think Coach Swan, if you're at this point now, there's less than 20 seconds left, slow down. You know, Darrell was bringing it down the floor like he was in a hurry, and there's no reason to. So I'm sure that's what Coach Swan is, like you said, these are all teachable moments, and that's what he'll be talking about on Monday.
Coming out of the timeout. Penn already back on the floor. Most of their starters are out there. Right now, Burton is out there for Bonner. That's the only difference. So 4 out of the 5 starters. Crown Point with their starting 5. Evans inbounded to Shaw. Shaw getting pushed out of bounds as Obermeyer was leaning into him, and Shaw will get his turn at the stripe.
Yeah, Shaw was just waiting for the foul to be called there. Kind of like playing with your younger brother, just kind of holding it away from the guy and looking at the official like, are you going to call something?
That's what's been so intriguing about Shaw. The few times he's been put into a tough defensive player, into double teams. But in this second half, he really has been deterred. Looked very calm.
But he also caught the ball in a bad area.
That's true.
We call that trap city, and that's just a bad spot to catch it when the other team's trapping.
Obermeyer wide open, corner 3, and Obermeyer makes it a 4-point game. Obermeyer has emerged in this final few minutes of the fourth quarter as he's hit a couple of threes. 8.8 seconds left, and a timeout was called down there on the floor.
Yeah, a little matchup problem there for the Bulldogs. You can't leave a shooter that wide open when you know that's what the team's going to be doing.
And if Penn would have hit some of those early threes to start off this game, there's a chance this game is even closer than it is right now. But they were going into the post, and Crown Point, they were able to push them way beyond the three-point line and forcing them into some really uncomfortable positions.
Yeah.
Penn had some turnovers, missed shots, and with those missed shots, Crown Point went to a fast break. And when you have a team that has the sort of chemistry like CP, plays right into their hands.
And the amount of weapons that they have. You see their balanced scoring. But, yeah, that third quarter was the difference. And Crown Point came out the more team with playing with urgency there.
Yeah, I wonder how many different Crown Point players have gotten into double digits. I see 3 up there on the board. I believe there's one more.
Yeah, I believe I'm trying to see his number.
Was it possibly M.J. Wilson, number 4?
Number 4, that was my thought.
Okay. Yeah, it only shows us the 5 players out on the floor. And we don't have an official statistician, but nonetheless, Crown Point, a balanced effort tonight, both offensively, defensively, and, of course, the players also balanced in the scoring column. Then that's the thing. If you have a set amount of players that can score at a high rate, it's going to create matchup nightmares for future matchups as Crown Point trying to reach the semi-state finals for the 3rd straight year.
Yeah, I think they have legitimately 6 guys that could score double digits, on any given night as I look at their bench. And as you mentioned, and Darrell got off to a slow start, getting in early foul trouble.
And he just got up to 10 points.
Right.
Going 2 for 2 at the line. And Peters runs into Kuhlman.
That's one of those things. You look at the clock. Penn needs 2 possessions to tie the game. Coach Swan, I'm sure, wants to see that clock running. Let him shoot it. I think the Penn is out of timeouts as well.
Kuhlman up to 18 points. Looking ahead for Crown Point, their next game is on the road against East Chicago. That will be in 3 days' time. And Kuhlman, no doubt about it, 2 for 2. 4-point game with 4 seconds. Shaw receiving the pass as Kuhlman tried to jump it, and Kuhlman can't knock it away. And the Crown Point Bulldogs start off 1-0 as their journey to a possible trip to Indianapolis has started with a 4-point narrow win against the Penn Kingsmen. Doug, any final thoughts before we go into the post-game show?
I'm sure that, like you said, that this gives Coach Swan some film.
Yes.
They're going to break this film down, and they're going to get better, and things will look a lot better as they move forward. And as we mentioned, Coach Darrell had a slow start, and Shaw looked like he was forcing it at times. And with their balance, they don't need to do that. So that's only going to get better, and I'm excited, for both of these teams, see how they, advance as throughout the year.
We will step aside and then come back as we wrap up tonight's broadcast and give out some awards and some thank yous. You're watching Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown Town.
Ava, let's go.
Try it on.
The shortest distance between 2 people is a smile. That's why we're committed to fighting hunger in our communities until everyone has a reason to smile. Strack and Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. If you're a contractor, it's my job to make your insurance coverage simple and affordable. Because I know time is money, I'll come to your business. Certificates and bonds are a snap. Wherever you are, whatever business you're in, we've got you covered. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero. Crowell Company's insurance professionals. Highland, Merrillville, and Michigan City.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
IBEW Local 697 isn't just wiring buildings. We're woven into the very fabric of Northwest Indiana. We're your neighbors. Our kids go to school with yours. We stand in the same bleachers cheering for the same high school teams. When you hire a union electrician, you're not just getting the highest quality work. You're supporting our community. IBEW Local 697, proudly powering our own.
Mayor Pete Land and the Crown Point Police Department are proud to support Crown Point Bulldog Athletics and say, Go Bulldogs! Crown Point remains dedicated to preserving history, celebrating everyday life, providing the best in city services, and encouraging smart growth. Visit the lower level of the historic Lake County Courthouse for photos with Santa from noon to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays beginning November 29th. Santa will also be there on December 23rd. Please bring a camera. Photos are free. And Crown Point gets their first present of the year. It's a win over the Penn Kingsmen here at home. Andrew Mild with Doug Nelson. And Doug, this was a game that certainly lived up to the billing.
It did. There's a lot of talent on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And
we saw some scouts also scattered throughout the gym tonight.
And we saw some Duneland Conference coaches here scouting a little bit and getting a first look at Crown Point this year. And, I think Crown Point progressively got better. They started out awfully slow, kind of standing around a little bit, but I think they definitely opened things up there in the second half, and that was the difference here tonight.
And you and I were saying off air is that Crown Point's two-star players, the guys who really contributed to the team last year, and Mason Darrell and Dikembe Shaw, they had off nights.
Yeah.
And they still found their way into double digits. You had Darrell with 10 and Shaw with 11. Those two, first game of the year, getting those early season jitters out of the way, can only imagine they're only going to get better from here.
No doubt. And, that whole offseason, you're kind of, all over Twitter or, press clippings to everybody telling you how good you are. And there's so much pressure on you. That is, we talk about there's a bullseye on Crown Point as a team as well as two guys that are Division I. So, that's a little bit of pressure. And at some point, you just got to take a deep breath and go play and have fun.
We'll say for Penn, they played the game last night, and then they had to travel over here. For them to only lose by 4, that's a major win for this young squad as their season goes along.
Yeah, again, that's going to be a fun team to watch. Coach Coleman's got a lot of weapons to mess with there, and he uses a lot of ways to get his son open, and he's going to have a huge career, and it's going to be as we mentioned. I'm being a Duneland Conference guy, I like the meat inside, the bang, and the big muscle they had inside with their two big guys.
And hustle on the offensive glass by both sides. Penn's next game is on Wednesday. They'll be at home against Fort Wayne Blackhawk Christian. And to round out our Region Sports Network broadcast on this Saturday is the 3 awards, starting off with the Crowd Companies Lantern Man Superhero of the Game. Crowd Companies, the Insurance Professionals. And Doug, for you and me, this was a pretty clear choice.
It really was. On both ends of the floor, we thought the Crown Point senior guard Kingston Rhodes led the way with 15 points, and he was very disruptive on the defensive end as well. So he's our Lantern Man superhero of the game.
And he had the big play of hitting the 3 that would give Crown Point their first lead, and they never relinquished it from there. Next up is the Boilermakers Local 374 Blue Collar Player of the Game. Earn while you learn with Boilermakers Local 374. Doug?
We went with the Crown Point Junior, Cooper Molaski.
Yes.
It's kind of lead into the next stuff. But I thought he did a lot of dirty work and did a lot of things in the paint. And he's got, again, you can't teach size, Andrew. And he's long and he's got a good basketball IQ, and he just made things happen all night. And a lot of stuff that didn't really show up on the stat line, but those are the kind of guys you want on your team. So that's why he's our blue-collar player of the game.
And finally is the Proud to Be Union Player of the Game, and that is proudly presented by Ironworkers Local 395. For more information on the apprenticeship program, check out ironworkers395.com. And speaking about Cooper Molaski.
Yeah, we went with Cooper. He took that charge there early in the first quarter. It kind of changed the momentum of the game and kind of brought some life to the gym. You're a baseball guy. It's kind of like a squeeze play.
Yes.
It's kind of like a fake punt. It's one of those things that gets the blood flowing and everybody gets into it, and that kind of put a little charge into Crown Point at the time.
Well, that is going to do it here on the Region Sports Network. For our management, Chris Ramirez, Rich Castillo, Zach Miller, that's Miller with 2 I's, and Mike Dewan. Thank you to the coaches, Barrick Kuhlman at Penn, Clint Swan of Crown Point, the athletic directors, Jeff Hart for Penn, and Bill DeRula here at CP. Always love coming to Crown Point. And to our viewers at Facebook.com, Facebook/Region Sports Nation, YouTube/Region Sports, IHSAA Champions Network, and RegionSports.com. For our camera operator, Kent Klaus, our producer, Zach Zanelli, and my partner, Doug Nelson, I've been Andrew Mild. This has been Game Night on the Region Sports Network, the only game in Crown.